Yeah, you mentioned it. I don't know if it's a slip of the tongue. You mentioned, what you tell the juniors. Are you doing work with kids? I mean, I'm imagining that, locally, you're probably in demand and a bit of a local hero, really, an icon that people might think, oh, I'd like to know how Jordan Brown has got as good as he has. Are you working with kids, or is that something you would do?
Yeah, it's something that I'd definitely be interested in. But I think you can both vouch for the fact that there's very few kids coming through. I think you've had this. I'm sure you've had this this chat with some of the other guys. It's just a shame that we're in a world with Xboxes and PlayStations and social media and stuff, and things like that are dominating the world nowadays. There's just very few kids with interest, but there's a couple of young kids that are coming through in the club, and one of them's called Joel Connolly, and I know he's very, very keen, and I sort of give him a game, give him a few pointers, and it doesn't take much. I give up my time for anybody, and I'm always an admiration for people who want to take up the game, and but it's just there's very few coming through, and it's just part and parcel of our world nowadays.
Yeah, and that seems to be a problem not only in Northern Ireland but in the rest of the home nations. The grassroots game, it's just lacking in juniors, and I think, as you say, a lot of it's to do with social media and everything sort of geared towards the house these days.
Yeah, well, when think back to my day, whenever I was coming through in the early 2000s, I mean, you had like 60, 70 entries into every single junior tournament, and that's in Northern Ireland. Yeah, I can't even start to imagine to think what it was like in England and Wales, and even up where you guys are. We had 60 people on a Saturday, and it was actually that big of an entry. The first or second rounds were only one frame, and there was like a best of one, but you had to in order to fit it in one day. It was just incredible. But again, I was very lucky to be coming through in that sort of establishment, and it's just a shame that we don't have anywhere near that nowadays. We're very lucky to get even a group stage on, like 5, 6 players. It's awful, but hopefully something's done about it, and hopefully the governing bodies will maybe come together someday, and hopefully the government itself will start a bit of funding and get juniors involved. But I just can't see it happening. I just think it's war too thin now.
Yeah, be interested in your views really on it, Jordan. As you say, we've had a few of the younger players on, and and a theme that's come up, I think, when we've chatted about them is about almost how they make their way in the professional game. So they get onto the tour, and I've heard different views on this now. So I'm interested in your thoughts. There's something around, you get on the tour as a youngster, but you're pitched in potentially against the top players in the world straight off. There's no kind of playing similar players in the qualifying rounds, and then you then kind of hit the big players in the later rounds. It's almost you're in there, it's the survival of the fittest. I don't know whether that's a good thing, not a good thing. I wonder what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah, it's not good, is it? I mean, the structure of the tour it does need a good revamp. Let's be honest. I think you should still have a lot of the flat draws. I do think that you should there should be a lot more tournaments with a tiered system. I think you play someone to your own level and then work your way up to play the top players. I think you should have a lot more tournaments like that, but not all of them. I think you should have a good mix of that, but it's very tough for the player coming through now. I mean, even for me, I was, whenever I just got back on there in 2018, I had a little bit of experience behind me, which sort of helped me in a way. But these young kids, they're being thrown in the deep end straight away, and it's not good for them. I'll name a couple of players like see young Sean Maddox and Liam Boyko. I mean, they're drawing top players all the time, and let's be honest with you, they're good players in their own right, and on any given day they can win. But there's just no real opportunity to sort of like play their game, not even to breathe. And then whenever they lose their first 3 or 4 matches, they're absolutely destroyed. They're down a few grand straight away, and it's not easy on these players, and I do feel sorry for them. But we'll come back to the argument I'm sure a lot of boys have been talking about. You know, first round losers need paid. And they don't deserve to win any prize money per se. Just get their expenses covered and make life a little bit easier, you know, because I know from my own personal experience, my first 5 matches I lost as a pro, and I was down about 5 or 6 grand. And you can imagine what it's like for some of these players. You wonder where they're getting the money from, and it's soul destroying. But hopefully in the near future, hopefully things will change and sort of help these young players coming on.
Yeah, I mean, if you could take maybe 5, you know, say you're getting like 2 or 3 grand for winning your first match, if you take maybe £500 off that and give it to the guy that's lost, just you know, deal with expenses and stuff. I mean, I'm sure the guys that will win that match, they'll be in that position where they would be grateful for £500. You know, if the shoe was on the other foot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you take for example the UK Championships. I mean, 6.5 grand or zero.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ludicrous. I mean, why not take 500 of that? I mean, I'm sure whoever wins the match will still not be complaining. You know, it's still a good chunk of money to go home with. And it does need a good revamp and make sure everybody's looked after, because to call yourself a professional snooker player, you know, I think you deserve to be on something, or you know, just at least get your expenses covered. You know, because I mean, to go all the way, even for me, going all the way over to Northern Ireland, or from Northern Ireland to go to a tournament, you know, most of them are in England. It's costing me a good £600-700 each time, and if you lose your first match, you know, you're losing all that money, and it's a lot of money whenever you have a family to feed and you know other things that sort out. It's not easy.
Yeah, and so much pressure on that match as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's the first round is the key in every tournament. So it's horrible.
I think Peter, remembering Lee, I think it was Peter Devlin when he was on was talking about that, and obviously, you know, another promising player, but if he's not getting through the early rounds, I think when we talked to him, he was approaching, I think it was the UK Championships, and he was saying, you know, almost his season hinges on how he gets on there. As it was, it didn't go so well. And just that intense pressure of, you know, if you don't get so far, then you're going to mess your season up really, and you're losing money. And, you know, I suppose as well, you're not getting much game time, are you? You're not actually getting much kind of time on the tables with the players on the tour to get your standard even up anyway. It just seems loaded a little bit against the newer players, although I guess when you hear Barry Hearn talk about it, he kind of rewards excellence, doesn't he? That seems to be what the point is.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's all right rewarding winners. I mean, let's be fair. I mean, see that the people who are winning, they deserve it. You know, they've been the best player of the week. They deserve to get the rewards. But I'm sure that the top players even will not miss, you know, a bit of chunk off the winner's check. I know Barry Hearn says that's downgrading, you know, the winners and all that there. But I just think that it will be a lot better if it was spread down a little bit. And I think I remember Judd Trump saying that there was too many players on tour. I mean, that's not good commercially if you're going to cut the tour to maybe 96. You know, you want more players coming in. You know, but you have to give them all a chance. You know, you have to give them a chance to breathe. And it's very expensive, the tour as it is. You know, because like I say, every time I go over from Northern Ireland, it's about £600 or £700 easy, and it's not easy on some of these other guys.
Yeah, it does seem odd, doesn't it? It's a professional sport, but you know, for a lot of the people on the tour, you can't really make it work. And as you say, if the kids aren't coming through in big numbers, then you almost think you've got to have a longer term view of where the sport's headed. And you know, there's a wave of people who are still playing now into their late 40s and still playing at the top of the game. But you almost think, and this is not at all about nationalities, but you know, there's a whole Chinese wave of very, very good players coming through. I think it may have been Mark King who said he can see that dominating the game in years to come, because you can't see the youngsters being able to get through in this country or around the UK.
Yeah, well, I think there's a good reason for that, because I believe in China they've introduced it into their school curriculum. I believe there's like star tables in like a majority of the schools over there. Yeah, and I mean that just goes to tell you all you need to know. I mean, they are I've been to China a few times now, and I see the strength and depth in what they do over there. Just get the kids involved, and there's just a wave of people coming through, and it's only going to grow and grow, but purely because the government are funding them and introducing the game to them at a young age. And if we only had a smidgen of that over here, then we'll be doing well. But like I said earlier on, I just can't see anything happening, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and speaking about the Chinese events, obviously the players will be looking forward to the Chinese events, being held again, because there's a lot of prize money in those events, isn't there?
Yeah. The sooner we get back there, the better. You take it for granted, to think that a couple of years ago, who would have said that we would be in the situation we're in now? And to be honest with you, I was a little bit fed up with the traveling to China back and forth, maybe 5 or 6 times a year. But you sort of you're sitting here now and you think you can't wait to your next trip to China. They do. I must say, they really look after you well out there. They treat you like a king. You get the red carpet treatment out there.
Yeah,
it's a great experience, and the prize money is good as well. So there's talk about it coming back in the next season. I believe that the Winter Olympics that's on at the minute in Beijing, I think that's like a feeder event to see how that goes with restrictions and stuff, and whether they're able to let other sports people out to China. So the sooner we get back there, the better, because I think that's a big chunk of the tour that's missing. To be honest, I think that's also a reason why some of the players are suffering as well, because no disrespect to other events, but China is really where the money is. They're passionate about it out there, and they pay us well. So
yeah, we touched a little bit on that, Lee, didn't we, with with Billy, about almost how a nation gets behind their sportsmen, and I think he expressed a bit of disappointment in how how Scotland haven't got behind some of its champions, and but it sounds like on the back of the Welsh Open, it sounds like you did get some attention, and maybe did you feel backing in Northern Ireland? Did you feel that there was a real celebrate that success and make the most of it? Did that come across?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said earlier, the attention was overwhelming. I just wasn't prepared for it at all. It is nice, and it's nice to be sort of recognised, and that sort of. I think that night I had people crying on their sofas. I had grown men crying. So it just goes to show how passionate, whether they were for me or not, is not a matter. But for the sport in general, I think there's a certain love there, and people are genuinely interested in it. So yeah, it's great to see.
It's funny, isn't it? I mean, we know each other. Me and Lee know each other through. You said about PlayStation and Xboxes. We only know each other because we played in a PlayStation snooker league, the Snooker 19 game on the PlayStation. Have you? I don't know if you've seen your likeness. I'm presuming you haven't played the game, but obviously you're in it.
No, I believe so. I've got sent a couple of images of myself, and to be fair, I've actually done a really, really good job. And there's a couple of players that you actually think it is in real life, but no, I'm not really into computer games. I'm not a teenager anymore. I'm too busy with my life at the minute, and all that there. It's stick to the kids, that one.
That's our way of being a professional snooker player, isn't it, Mike?
Yes, it's the closest to ever get. Absolutely,
good way to be.
Yeah, we've only played once competitively, and Lee got a 147 against me in the first frame, which was a bit rude.
The aid of the arrows, isn't it? It's like there's like a name in it, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
Oh God, brilliant.
And Jordan, I believe Mark Allen holds a pro-am every year, doesn't he? Is that in the local club?
Yeah, I think I know where you're going with this. I think he's going to rename it the Jordan Brown Classic, because I keep winning it every year.
Times, yeah.
I've won it the 3 times it's been on, but yeah, Yes, it's a great tournament. Mark spends countless amounts of hours, even weeks, even months, even just organising it, because there's a lot goes into charity work, and that's really what it's all about, you know. And Mark's very passionate about local charities and giving back to, you know, the less fortunate, and I think that's ultimately why, you know, everyone comes over and supports it, and we get a good 80 entries every year. Obviously last year it wasn't on pandemic, but hopefully things will be back to normal and we'll get it on again next year. But yeah, it's a great event, and I recommend any of you guys, you know, coming over to it. It's just a fantastic weekend. Even there's a lot of people that come in and just puts a few quid into the charity box, and you know, it's free admission, but you know, that's just our way of just saying, you know, just that's all you have to do, and watch a little bit of snooker. And you've got the likes of John Higgins, Sean Murphy, Ricky Walden, you know, they've all came over and supported it. So yeah, hopefully it's on again next year, and it's my bank manager is always pretty happy whenever.
Yeah, let's hope for the same result, Jordan, eh?
Yeah, no, it's always nice. It's nice, yeah.
How many times have you won it, just out of interest?
Yeah, I've won it 3 years in a row. First year it was on, I beat Fergal 5-1 in the final, beat Mark 5-4 in the final, and I beat Barry Hawkins 5-4 in the final.
Wow.
Third. So yeah, beat some really, really good names. Actually, funny you should say that. The second of the 3 years that I won it, it was actually just after I qualified through Q School. Because if I didn't qualify through the second event in Q School, I actually wouldn't have made my first round match. So right. There's a bit of added pressure, that final match in Q School. So I had the back of my mind, right, just win this year and get back to the Pro-Am, because obviously I obviously desperately wanted to get home, and there was a standing ovation for me whenever I walked in the club, and there was champagne on ice and everything. But it was just fairy tale stuff, you know, whenever I turned pro, and then a couple of days later I won the Pro-Am. You just couldn't make it up. Yeah, that was a great weekend.
I'm sure I watched the Pro-Am, the one he won against Mark Allen. I think Cookie was streaming it on Facebook. Simon Cook.
Yes,
so
he loves the snooker, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you get much time really, Jordan, outside of the, you know, practicing and traveling for tournaments and that. But you know, do you have other interests that you're able to give time to? You say you're a family man.
Yeah, me and my girlfriend met a couple of years ago in a restaurant. She was actually a waitress in it, and that we just had a chat and just took off from there. And like I said earlier on, we moved into this house that we're in now. We're about 40 miles away from Antrim, because she's from up the north coast. So I spent a lot of time with the family, just the simple things, just like to come home and just have a bit of family time. And I love watching sports. I think my favorite sport, apart from snooker, is tennis. I'm a big tennis fan.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I watched that final in the Australian Open. How remarkable was it for Rafael Nadal to come back and win? On paper he's the greatest, you know, but I think you can make a case for all three. I'm a big Federer fan. Still for me, I think he's the greatest, but you know, it's a good talking point anyway. But yeah, I'm just passionate about sports in general. I just like to hang about with my friends. You know, there's not really a chance to spend time with your friends back home, because you're always away. And also like to play a bit of golf in the summer. I'm not that great, to be honest, but just getting out in the fresh air, you know, I absolutely love the game, and it's a good pastime.
I suppose in a way tennis is, I guess in a way a little bit like, there's a parallel with snooker in the sense that, you know, at the top of the sport, there's almost 2 or 3, or in fact, maybe you should say 4, kind of top players who any other era might be the number one on their own. You know, you've kind of got your Federer, Nadal, I guess Murray at one point, Djokovic, and you could say the same for snooker in a way, couldn't you? You've got Ronnie, who obviously you've said yourself he's the greatest of all time. But you've got Ronnie, you've got Selby, you've got Trump, you've got Robertson. I mean, you kind of got any of those in another era might be a standalone number one.
Oh, 100%. Even that match last night with Ronnie and Robertson, I was just saying to my mate there yesterday, I mean, who do you fancy to win? It's on the day. I mean, on the day, any of them could beat each other, and they're top players for a reason because they're winning all the time, and it's just incredible, you know, how they're still doing it, especially like Ronnie and Higgins and Williams still at the top of the game. I mean, for me, they're the greatest three of all time, to be honest with you. I just think they're just incredible sportsmen, and they still be doing it in their late 40s.
Yeah,
I take my hat off to them. It's just incredible.
So you've still got years to go yet before you're in that age bracket, that kind of, you know, the mid-late 40s.
Yeah,
still a while to go. So I don't, you know, I don't know. I'm imagining you like to take things as they come, but I mean, have you got any thoughts on where you want to get to, where you think you realistically would be able to get to? You know, you've had your first ranking event win. There's plenty of tournaments to go out. Where do you see yourself going?
Yeah, I like to think I'll be in the top 16 for in a few years. Hopefully, the not too distant future. Hopefully, because I just have total belief in the game, and I'm always dedicated, and I just don't see any reason why not. I'm not being big-headed in any way. I just I think you've got to have that belief in yourself. Otherwise, what's the point in playing? You know, I'm not just gonna be one of these players who just hugs and pugs just for the all win here and there and scrape a few quid. I think that's all dead under the water now. It's just a case of aiming to win tournaments and go deeper in the tournaments as well, and just be consistent. And I'd like to think I've got another 10, 15 years, you know, ahead of me on the tour. So yeah, it can only, the only way is up from here. You know, I can always say I've won a ranking title. Nobody can ever take that away from me. I'll be the greatest of all time in the final as well. So. There's who's not to say that I'll be winning more tournaments and you know, being one of the top players for a few years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. No reason why not. So I think what we'd like to do then, Jordan, is maybe just ask you a few kind of quick fire questions just to find out a bit more about your own views and your thoughts on different things around the sport. And we cheekily call it clearing the colours. So here we go. Okay. So for your yellow ball, here's your first one. It's on the spot. It's nicely set for you. Who do you feel is the funniest player that you've met out and about?
Oh, good question. Geez, you really are putting me on the spot. There's a few.
They get harder.
They do get harder.
Actually. Yeah, I haven't been in this company that often, but whenever I have, I think Mark Williams has to be up there. He's a joker. He's very funny. Mark Selby, Sean Murphy's very funny. I tell you a surprising one, and I think Lee, you'll know him a wee bit. Fergal O'Brien. I think he's very well.
Yeah, I don't know him personally. Sorry, Jordan, but sorry. Yeah, but I think we have had someone already say Fergal.
Yeah, Fergal, whenever he comes up to the club, you know, you wouldn't think he's like that because he's so, you can tell by his demeanour and table he's so serious. He takes everything, you know, it's like a bloodbath to him every single shot. But see off the table, he's one of the funniest guys. He just comes out with a one-liner and it's just you're bursting out laughing. And, that's a few for you. Mark's also very funny as well.
I suppose you've got to say Mark, haven't you?
Yeah, sort of we don't know. Yeah.
Well, that's the yellow down, Jordan. We're on to the green now. What's your favourite venue away from the Crucible?
Oh, that's easy. Barbican in York. I love going to York every year for the UK Championships. They really love their snooker out there, and it's a lovely city as well. Really enjoy going there every year. But the venue itself, it's just it's magic, you know, and it's a perfect venue to play snooker, and hopefully it's there for many years to come.
Yeah, beautiful place.
Yeah.
Great answer. I think that might be the first time for the Barbican. I'm not sure, Lee. Don't remember.
Yeah, I think we've had it once before.
Have we had it once before?
I actually forgot to mention one more. It was the Waterfront Hall in Belfast. I think that's it. I remember watching Mark in the final of the Northern Open when I beat Higgins. I never felt an atmosphere like that. Every seat was bunged, and it was a great place. I've been very fortunate. Obviously, that's my home tournament, and to play in front of my home fans there as well. I forgot to add that one in. So yeah, the Waterfront Hall is a brilliant venue.
Just to say, that night, Mark won the Northern Ireland Open. I was in Portugal and I was sitting right next to Paddy Wallace. And it was on the telly and he was so animated. I've never seen Paddy so animated since I've known him. He was jumping out his seat and everything.
That's just him nowadays. You know, he's just any time one of the local boys does well, he's a nervous wreck. I'm sure he had a glass of wine on him that night, did he?
He did.
No, not surprised.
One or two.
Yeah, he likes it. He's great, Paddy.
Fantastic.
Do you like a bit of that then, Jordan, with the fan interaction? You know, that was something that with the Northern Ireland Open, I remember, you know, a lot of shouting between shots, and you get different views on that. And obviously the shootout's completely different. But do you like a little bit more of that, where the fans shout a bit more? I'd like to see you do more of the fist punching as well.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, players themselves, I think they need to express themselves a little bit more, you know, and I, for one, I mean, I'd be the first to admit that I maybe don't show enough emotion whenever I'm out there, you know, because it means everything to these guys, you know, and I think a little bit of interaction with the crowd and the crowd getting involved, there's nothing wrong with that. What I do disagree with is shouting out like between during people's shots, you know, people have to get up and again. There's nothing more irritating as a snooker player. So yeah, but in general, it's not too bad. You know, you get the odd one that's a little bit misbehaving, but I don't mind that at all.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the green, and obviously, without kind of dragging it up, but obviously that was made a lot of news, didn't it? You're talking about Mark, but obviously the Mark match with Rhian Evans and just the way the crowd and the media around that. I mean, that must not asking you really, but that must have been really hard to be involved in.
Yeah, I was actually in the audience that night, and I was, to be honest with you, I was actually disgusted at the way the crowd got on that night. I think a lot of people weren't even there for a snooker; they were just there to watch. You know, watch Rhian and just I don't even know what they were doing there, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was just discussing some of the things that were shouting out, and at times I wanted to get involved, but sort of me as a player didn't want to get into trouble myself. And it's not. For the record, I get on well with Rhian. I like her, but I just think her supporters, I think she needs to change them up a wee bit, because I just think they're a little bit of disgrace that night. But you know, hopefully that doesn't happen again. A really weird situation for everyone, no doubt. That's the greens, that's the yellow and green, so we're in there. So the brown, and this could be you, whatever you answer, it might be you. Who do you think the next player to win the World Championship for the first time, the debut champion, who would that be? Oh, well, there's two spring to mind. I think definitely Bing Tao. I'm convinced he's going to be a world champion within the next few years. I'm convinced. I just think he's, for a young fella, he's like, I think he's only 21. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
that's right.
He's got the complete all round game. I think he's got to brush up in a couple of areas, but I think in general he's very mature for his young age, and I think he's here to stay. Jack Lazowski, I would absolutely love to see him win the ranking title. You know, I know he's been he gets a lot of bad press for, you know, being the nearly man. You know, I think it's only a question of when. So for him just to win a tournament, but I would love to see him win the World Championships, obviously, you know, because anytime I'm in Jack's company, you know, he's nothing but nice to me, and he's a cracking lad. And there's obviously Zen Tung as well. I mean, I think incredible. The way he broke through in the UK Championships, I think he's an outrageous long putter. I mean, I've never seen putting like it. I can only compare him to Trump. His long putting's just ridiculous. But yeah, he's still a bit to go. But I think in the distant future, I think he'll definitely be a world champion as well.
Yeah, we're a bit spoiled for choice, aren't we, with players at that level? It's exciting times, but I always look forward to the blue ball, and I'm going to let Lee deliver that one for you.
There we go. Obviously, this is quite a tricky blue, sort of thin cut to the middle, this, Jordan. Which actor would you get to play you in a film? of your life?
Oh God, my God, Jesus,
Tricky blue.
that is a tricky blue. Well, my favorite actor of all time is Tom Hanks, but I don't think he would cut my role, to be honest. Honestly, don't know. Jeez, you would need to give me another podcast, and then I might maybe answer you. I honestly couldn't tell you.
Shall we say Tom Hanks?
Yeah, Tom Hanks. You know, I absolutely admire him as an actor. So yeah, I'll maybe put him.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Absolute legend. All right, well, you know, the blue's now, and that's fine. We're nearly there. So on the pink then, and it's similar to my first question, but it's slightly different. So you've mentioned some people who you feel are good people, nice people. Who is there anyone that stands out for you? You know, that kind of salt of the earth, nicest player you've met, somebody you just think just golden. What a great person.
It's much to hate to say it, but I think Mark Allen is one of the nicest down to earth guys you can ever meet. It pains me to say it, but it's true. I think he would do anything for anybody, and I know he's done a lot for me. Just being a friend, just being sort of a mentor, being just everything really. There's a couple of other guys on tour, like those guys that you pass by and they wouldn't walk past you without saying hello or maybe having a chat. Anthony Hamilton, I think he's just an absolute lovely guy. You got Barry Pinches, Rod Lawler when he was on the tour. There's so many, but they're a few of the standout ones for me. I think they're just really lovely guys.
Yeah, and just to say what a classic guy Mark Allen is, Jordan. When we played the ICC in Cookstown in 2016, we're a bit short on referees, and there Mark was refereeing the matches. You know, I think that shows what a classy down to earth guy is. Yeah,
that just sums him up in one, to be honest with you. Like I said the earlier on about the charity work and stuff, you know, he likes to give that little bit back, you know. He's just a classy guy, isn't he? And so easy to talk to as well. Sean Murphy's another one just sprung in my head. Fergal, you know, they're practice partners sometimes. Just great guys, yeah. There's very few that aren't, you know. There's very few that you can sort of say, you know, oh, he's this and that, you know. It's me personally, I get on well with everyone and don't like to have any enemies. So but they're all a good bunch of lads.
It's good for us, isn't it? I think because for us is more as fans, you know, you don't necessarily get to see much about how the players are away from the table, and they're doing their job, so you don't even see much about what they're like until you see them on an interview or online or whatever. So just nice to hear from you guys, really, as to who, you know, how you encounter some of the players. It's that stuff you can't find anywhere else sometimes.
Yeah, well, even Ronnie O'Sullivan. I mean, I've got to know him a little bit. You know, we'll see whenever he doesn't have a camera in his face, and whenever you're just talking to him, whenever he's away from all the attention, you'd imagine just how hard it is for him. By the way. But you know, even just having a conversation with him away from it all, you know, he's such a down to earth person, and yes, he's not your ordinary bloke. We all know that, but you know, he's just in general, I just think he's a really good guy to talk to, and you know, just you get to know these guys, you know, a little bit, you know, off the camera. So,
and he's not an ordinary player.
Oh, definitely not. No, he's quite something else.
Okay, that's I think that's Pinko, isn't it, Michael? We're on to the black ball. Last, this is to clear the table, Jordan. What would you call your autobiography if you wrote one?
Bloody hell! No, what a way to finish, eh? Bloody hell! I would say the highs and lows of a snooker player. It's just the first thing that came into my head. Obviously, I've suffered the lows whenever I was on the verge of giving up the game, to be honest with you. I just didn't want to take any interest in practicing, like I was saying, and and now I'm experiencing the highs, you know, and it's I'm soaking it up while it lasts. So yeah, highs and lows of a snooker player.
Brilliant.
First thing something in my head, yeah.
Well done.
Well, you cleared the colours, and the treat for us is that we use the your answer to that last question as the title for the episode, so we can use that one. That's a nice little opener. So the highs and lows of a snooker player with Jordan Brown. There we go.
Okay.
So I guess all, sorry, there's a bit of noise in the background. I guess all it leaves us to say really is just a great big thank you for your time, Jordan. It's been really nice meeting you and getting to know you a bit more.
Okay, anytime, yeah.
Yeah, we'll catch up again. That'd be great.
Yeah, anytime, yeah.
Thanks very much, Jordan. Generous with your time. Lovely guy, and I wish you all the best in life and with your snooker career going forward. And I'll hopefully see you for a pint in Cookstown.
Oh, absolutely, mate. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan.